All right. All right, we're recording. So thanks for those of you that got up this morning with me. It's quite a interesting morning, and I know that today's sort of the last day of this fall feeling before we get like another week of summer. So how lucky are we that we get that little that reboot? Because I feel like we got kind of cut off really quick. Summer was there, and then it was smoke, and then it was cold rain, and now looks like we're going to get sun for a bit. So today we're going to move a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of a vigorous practice. So please listen to your body if you need to pause. Or if something that you're trying isn't working for you, just trust in your body's wisdom that it's not for you right in this moment. So I'm not going to go do anything super crazy, but I'm going to give a few little extra options, and we're going to kind of move a little bit more vigorously and get that energy moving. So if you need to just settle for a bit, please listen to your body for that. So let's start in a tall seat, and maybe roll your shoulders back and down a couple times, or shift around a little bit and get settled in. And if you're comfortable to close your eyes, you could close your eyes or soften your gaze down slightly. And if you need a couple clearing breaths in through your nose and then out through your mouth anytime, releasing out any tension or any tiredness that might be lingering around if you're practicing in the morning. And then finding a rhythm for your breath where your inhale and your exhale are the same length. And each time you inhale, there's a little bit of a lift up through the top of your head or through the center of your heart. And then as you're breathing out, there's this subtle settling towards the floor, keeping that little bit of length. And then breathe into that extra space each time you breathe in, creating a bit more space. And then let the exhale let go or soften or release anything you need to let go of. And I did also want to mention, I'm not playing music in the background because it doesn't transfer well to the recording or through the computer to your device. So if you feel free, or if you feel like you want to have music on, please put music on in your own background for yourself. If you find your mind is particularly active this morning already, coming back to your breath or coming to an intention, a place that you'd like to feel or be after this practice, and just really bring that into your mind's eye, bring that into your awareness here, so that you could bring a bit more of a focus, not just to your practice, but being in the present moment. If you'd like to bring both hands over your heart or place your palms together at heart center, you could join me here. I'm going to open today's practice with the sound of Om. Excuse me. You're more than welcome to join in at home or enjoy and listen. So we'll start with a clearing breath here. Deep breath in, full exhale, and then inhale for Om. As you're ready, Releasing your hands down. If your eyes are closed, begin to open up your eyes. We'll start today in tabletop. So coming around right to hands under shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and we'll begin to move here. So right away, warming up your spine with some movement. You could arch and round a few times, and you can move with your breath. Exhale to round, inhale to lift your heart. And you may want to, on your exhale, draw your navel towards your spine and find a little bit of an engagement through your core. And then on your inhale, you could draw your shoulders back and find a little lift through your heart. Feel the connection to the ground. Press through your hands. We'll take a couple more breaths here. You can add in some additional movement here. So moving your hips side to side, or making some big circles or figure eights, or any other movement to create a bit more of a fluidity, and just start to allow your body to wake up this morning. Taking a couple more breaths wherever it is that you are. So before we continue to move, we'll sit back into child's pose with our knees slightly wider. If you'd like to make this a bit more active, you can pop up to your fingertips or place blocks underneath your hands. Couple clearing breaths here, knowing that you could move back to child's pose or sit back on your heels at any point you'd like to pause. And then taking your time as you're ready, coming back up to the center. And we're going to explore a little bit of balance and perhaps some movement here. So a couple of options from tabletop. The first option will be to extend your right leg back, lifting your ankle in line with your hip, both hands planted. And this is your inhale. So there's a slight lift through your heart. There's an extension through your leg. And then the exhale will be knee to chest, forehead to knee. Press through your arms and try to round through your spine. And then inhale to lift your heart and extend your leg back. So we can continue to move. You may be moving a bit quicker than my breath here. And if you'd like to add in your opposite arm, just making sure that you can find that rounding and really hug in. If you find that really throws your balance off, bring both hands back down to the ground. And we'll just take one more breath. And then as you're ready, we'll come back to the center. Take a moment to pause. Maybe a clearing breath or two. And as we come to the other side, it may feel different. So left leg extends. You could start with both hands planted. Feel that rounding through your spine as you exhale. Inhale to lift your heart. And rounding in as you exhale. Inhale to lift. And you could always add in your opposite arm here. Hugging in. Inhale to extend, lift through your heart. Exhale. And one more breath here. And then as you're ready, coming back to the center, I'm just going to pop back on my heels, but you could come to child's pose and circle out your wrists a couple times, shake it out a little bit, or maybe find a little bit of a heart opener if you're sitting back on your heels. All right, so we're going to move to downward facing dog. Placing your hands forward, tucking your toes under. And anytime we come to downward dog, feel free, allow yourself to come to child's pose to pause or come back to tabletop. Walking it out here a little bit. Lifting your heels or pedaling your heels out, lowering them back down. And then let's find a forward fold, stepping or walking forward and folding in. You can grab opposite elbows here. You can let your arms hang. Try to let go of the top of your head, release the tension in your neck. Take a couple deep breaths here. Now placing your hands on your shins, let's inhale to lift up halfway. And then exhale, fold back in. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale to fold. And 1 more time, inhale. And exhale. So you can ragdoll the stand or place your hands on your hips. Inhale to rise up and release your arms by your side for mountain pose. Take a breath in, reach your arms up overhead here. And then let's exhale to forward fold. And find an inhale to lift up halfway. And then let's step back to plank pose. Place your hands down, stepping 1 foot and the other foot down. So top of a push up here. Knees up or knees can come to the ground. Let's lower all the way down. So we'll start with our hands underneath our shoulders, rolling our shoulders back, lifting up, and maybe using core strength. So lifting your hands, floating them off of the floor, elbows tuck in, feet rooting down. Or you can keep your hands here for a bit more support. And then as you're ready, pressing back either through tabletop and then back up to downward facing dog. We're going to take a couple breaths here, maybe a couple clearing breaths if you need. And then as you're ready, walking your feet forward, lifting up halfway, and then folding in here. And then let's rise to stand, reach your arms up, full stretch here, hands to heart center, exhale. Inhale, let's reach our arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to lift up halfway. We're going to step back to plank pose again, maybe stepping your opposite foot back first. So it's hard to sometimes remember which foot it was, but maybe keeping track. Knees up or knees down, let's lower to the ground. So this time, we're going to take our hands off our mats. The edge of my mat's here. My hand's going to come up. I'm going to pop up to fingertips, elbows over my wrists, so both sides. Pressing through my feet, rolling my shoulders back and lifting up here for finger stand cobra. Looking down into the space in front of me, shoulders rolling back. So you might be a bit lower here, or you could be up a bit higher, just depending on the back of your body. And as you're ready, let's exhale. Hands come back underneath your shoulders, and let's push back to downward facing dog, where we will take a couple of breaths here. And same thing when you're stepping forward, you could always step or walk forward with the opposite foot first and folding in. And let's rise to stand and hands to heart center. All right, so we're going to take one more sun salutation in that way, knowing you can always stay in down dog and skip the vinyasa, which is where we come to plank pose and lower down and find our back bend, and then go back to down dog. So anytime that vinyasa part, you can skip. Let's take an inhale, reach our arms up. Exhale, forward fold. And then lift up halfway. So we're stepping back to plank pose. Taking a breath in, and we're lowering all the way down again. So we're going to explore finger stand cobra. And this time you could stay in the center or dip one shoulder down, look to the opposite side, and then lift up on your inhale. Exhale, other side. Keeping your feet rooted. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the side. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the side. Inhale to the center. And then let's lower down. And let's come back to downward facing dog. Deep breath in here. Full breath out. And then stepping or walking your feet forward to the front of your mat. Lifting up halfway and then exhale. Folding in. Let's pause here on our forward fold for a moment. Grabbing opposite elbows. Let your head release. Couple deep breaths into the back of your body. And let's slow down a little bit. Let's ragdoll up to standing. Shoulders back. Coming to mountain pose. Taking a couple full breaths here. And then inhale, let's reach our arms up again. Exhale, forward fold. Let's find a halfway lift to inhale. And let's step our left foot back this time. So left foot steps back, coming down to a low lunge. And let's rise up here. So you could pause, hands on your hips, or perhaps reaching your arms up overhead. Soften your shoulders onto your back. Couple more breaths here. Now, as you're ready, placing your hands down, and let's step back to downward facing dog. And you could lift your right leg up here if you like as well, finding a three-legged dog, or keep both feet on the ground. Now bringing your right foot back down, let's lift our left leg up and step our left foot forward. So if it doesn't quite reach, grab your ankle or your leg, step it forward, back knee comes down, and let's rise up to a low lunge here. Settling in, so hands on your hips or reaching your arms up overhead. You can even bend your elbows wide here if you like. Connecting to your breath. And on your next exhale, let's bring our hands down again, lifting your back knee. Let's step back to down dog or three-legged dog here. When you're ready to bring both feet down, bringing both feet to the ground, you could move through a vinyasa here. You could take child's pose. Clearing breath whenever you need. Now let's step our right foot forward. Back knee comes back down. So I'm going to turn actually this way. Okay. So let's walk our right foot a little wider. Let's revolve the lunge here. So you can have your hand on the ground or on a block, And we're going to turn towards our front leg. And you may want to bring your hand to your hip or extend your arm up here. I'm going to give one more option today for this. You could reach back, grab the top of your left foot. You may have to come out of the lunge slightly, settle back in and take a thigh stretch. And if you're doing that, just being mindful that you can hold your foot and bend back in. And if you can't, you can let this go. So right hand reaches back to grab the back foot, which is your left foot. And don't worry if you don't have that, just staying in the twist here. And then very mindfully releasing that side, and we're going to step back to downward facing dog. And you could take three-legged dog, opening up your hip to the side, bending your knee if you like for this one. Or you could come to down dog and walk it out a little bit. Taking a couple clearing breaths. And then let's step our left foot forward and right knee comes down. So finding your low lunge here first. Your left foot can come a little bit wider, toes can turn out. Starting in the revolve version here, so hand on your hip or reaching up. And if you took the thigh stretch on the first side, you could do that here. So left hand reaches back for your right foot. You may have to kind of come out a little bit. And if you can't, that's okay. Just staying in the revolved version. You can reach your arm up. Connecting to your breath. Couple more breaths here. And very mindfully release your back foot. And let's step back to downward dog, where you could open up, come to three-legged dog, open up your hip and bend your knee if you like, or just coming to down dog. When you're ready, you could move through vinyasa, you could stay in down dog, or take a moment to pause in child's pose. And then wherever it is that you are, let's come and step our right foot forward. So this time we're going to rise to a high lunge, and you could also come back to a low lunge instead if you prefer. So back knees lifted, adjusting so your front knee's over your ankle, hips are facing forward. You could keep your hands on your hips or rest your hands beside you, or reach your arms up overhead. Couple big breaths here. So your back heel's lifting so that your back leg's super engaged. So you're feeling this lift through your hips, and then you could settle into your front knee here if you like. Now from here, our hands are going to come down. We're going to straighten out both legs. I'm going to use blocks today. Some of you have blocks, some of you don't. So both legs are straight. Keep your back heel lifting. Begin to straighten your hips or straighten your leg, square your hips forward, and then maybe fold in over your front leg. So you might feel a stretch through the back of your front leg here. If you don't, you can lower down to the ground a bit more. From here, if you have blocks, you can take them with you if you like.
Let's walk our hands forward. Lift your back leg up behind you with a step or a couple steps. And then squaring your hips, let's fold in over our front leg. Maybe taking your right hand to the back of your right leg to fold in, or keeping both fingertips or both hands up on fingertips on the ground. And then as you're ready, we're going to step forward. Take a halfway lift and then exhale. Fold in. Maybe take another clearing breath here. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale. Just take a moment to pause, maybe swaying a bit in your forward fold or making a little bit of movement. And let's inhale for a halfway lift. And then this time, let's step our right foot back. We're coming up to a high lunge. Remember, you can always take the low lunge variation as well, especially if you're feeling balance isn't working here. Back heel lifts up, and then settle into your front leg. Any arm variation that you'd like. Connecting to your breath. And then as you're ready, let's release our hands down. Hands on either side of your front foot. We will begin to straighten both legs. Back heel still lifting. Hips are square forward. Let's fold in. Connecting to your breath. And then let's lift up halfway. Walk your hands forward. Lift your back leg up behind you, folding in here. Blocks or no blocks, your choice. And then as you're ready, we'll step forward into our forward fold. Maybe walk your feet a little bit wider if you like, and we'll fold in here. Making a bit of swaying movement, shaking out your head a little bit perhaps. And then let's inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Let's take a nice slow ragdoll to stand. Let's make our way up to standing. Walk your feet back in. Maybe shake it out a little bit, and then find a moment to pause in mountain pose. Okay. So keeping your right foot forward, let's step our left foot back for warrior one. So back toes are angled forward and to the side. So they're not all the way to the side. They're not all the way forward, but they're angled forward. And then let's bend into our front knee. And depending on how that feels on your back and your hip and your back knee, you could always lift your heel and place it a little further back. Now, if your back heel's lifting, take a little bit of a shorter stance. And then let's today come into eagle arms. Actually, I'm going to turn this way so you can see better. So arms come wide. Let's take our right arm underneath our left. And you're either going to grab opposite shoulders, roll them back, or you're going to wrap your arms around and then shoulders back. So it looks like this here. Yeah, okay. Shoulders back, heart lifted, and then moving your hands away from your face if you can. A couple deep breaths into the back of your body. Now let's unravel our arms, open them wide, take a breath in, and then exhale, hands to your hips. So we're going to transition up to a balance. So you can watch first if you like. I'm going to lift my back heel, lean forward, And then my left knee lifts up towards my chest. So you can try that here if you like. Hugging your core in, flexing your feet. And then just as you're ready, placing that foot down, taking a full breath in, full exhale. And one more breath here. Okay. So stepping your right foot back this time for warrior one. Back heel's rooted, back foot's angled to the side and forward. And then let's bend into our front knee. And then our arm variation is, let's take our arms wide, take your left arm underneath your right this time, wrapping them up. As you do that, shoulders come back, palms reaching forward, engaging through your core, connecting to your breath. Now, as you're ready to release, open your arms wide, take a breath in, and then exhale, hands to your hips. So coming back into the balance, you're gonna lift our back heel, lean forward, and then lift your right knee up towards your chest. You can release your hands, core drawing in, take another deep breath. And let's release both feet. Let's shake it out a little bit here if you like. Full breath in, full exhale. Take an inhale to reach your arms up. Exhale to forward fold. Now let's lift up halfway, inhale. Let's step back to warrior two. So stepping your left foot back, turning your toes to the side, and then let's rise up. So this time your back foot faces the side of your mat. Front foot faces forward. Hips are facing the side of your mat. Extending out through your arms here. Feel the strength in your legs and let your upper body feel a little bit more fluid, a little bit more relaxed. Let's bring your back hand to our back leg. Turn your front palm to face the ceiling and then reach your front arm up, shoulders back, and maybe lean back a little bit. And then as you're ready, let's straighten out our front leg. Extend your arms out. Take a breath in. Reaching forward for triangle. Your front hand can come down to your shin or to a block. Your back hand can reach up behind you. You can also extend your arm forward here for a bit more of a side body stretch. Just notice how that feels for your shoulder. Now, looking down, placing your hands down, lift your back heel, lift your back leg up, and walk your hands forward again. So you can come up to blocks here again. This time we're going to turn our hip to the open to the side, toes to the side. And you could bring your left hand to your left hip for a bit of a balance or keep both hands down. You could also extend your left arm up towards the ceiling if you're really falling out of balance, keeping both hands down or placing your left hand to your left hip for half moon pose. Now, as you're ready, we'll step forward into a forward fold, taking a deep breath in here and then fold in as you exhale. Let's inhale, halfway lift, and then let's sit back to plank pose. Now you can hang out in downward dog, or you can move through a vinyasa here. Now we're going to step our left foot forward Turn your back heel for warrior two on the other side. Back foot is facing the side of your mat. Bend into your front knee. Hips and shoulders right in the center, facing the long edge of your mat. And maybe looking forward. Again, find that little bit of ease and fluidity in your upper body where your lower body is really anchored here. Let's bring our back hand to our back leg. Turn your front palm to face the ceiling. Lift your front arm up, shoulders back. And you could tip back here a bit as well. As you're ready, coming back to the center, straightening out your front leg and reaching your front arm forward and down. Back hand can be on your hip or reaching up. You could also hold a block here. As you're ready, let's look down. Hands come down to the ground. Lift your back leg up, walking your hands forward. Turn your hip and toes to the side of your mat. You could bring your right hand to your right hip. You could also keep both hands on the floor. Or you could open up. If you're opening up your chest and shoulders, your hand will reach up towards the ceiling. If not, keeping your hand on your hip or on the floor. Half moon pose. Taking your time, let's come back to a standing forward fold. Both feet coming down to the ground. Take a clearing breath. Let your head release. You can grab opposite elbows for a moment. Now let's slow down a little bit and let's ragdoll up to standing. Coming back to mountain. All right, one last standing sequence before we start to lower down to the floor. Let's step our left foot back for warrior one. So hips facing forward again. So you've been here once. So we're going to just pause here for a moment, hands on our hips. Let's straighten out our front leg and reach forward and down. So you could have blocks on either side of your front foot. Hips are squared, legs is straight-ish as you fold in. If you'd like to interlace your hands behind you, and begin to straighten your arms, you can. If not, keeping your hands closer to the floor, letting your head release, chin towards your chest. Couple more breaths here. Now, as you're ready, lifting up halfway, and let's begin to rise and come all the way up to stand. So we're going to move towards warrior three. So again, lifting your back heel, leaning forward, lifting your back leg behind you. And from here, maybe as you lift your back leg, you lower your upper body slightly, keeping your hips square. Your hands can be at heart center or wherever's most comfortable here. And then just whenever you're ready, we'll come back to mountain pose. Taking a clearing breath or two. Okay, second side. Right foot steps back, hips facing forward. Let's straighten out our front leg. Let's hinge forward and down. Hands to blocks or hands to the floor, or you could interlace your hands behind you. Letting go of any tension, clearing breath if you need. Last couple breaths here. Now let's begin to lift up halfway. Lift all the way back up to standing. Back heel lifts, lean forward, lift your back leg, and then think of your back leg leading. So as your back leg lifts, you might lower your upper body a little bit for warrior three. So that's a bit wobbly. Your warrior three might be more upright, or you could begin to work parallel to the ground, shoulders back, however. So there's a back bend here. And then just as you're ready, coming back to mountain pose, taking a deep breath in, full breath out. Okay. So we're going to come into squat pose. I'm going to come back to the middle of my mat because I'm going to give everyone an option. I'm not going to teach crow pose today, but if you know crow pose and you feel like coming into it, you can. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, probably not a good option for you today. I'll maybe workshop that pose one day, okay? So let's come to squat pose. If you have a yoga block or two, you could either stack the blocks or turn one block on its side to sit on. So that's a midway point. You could also come to a half squat with your elbows resting above your knees, or again, you may have a little block to support you. Or you could come right into squat pose here. Just notice how this feels, knowing you can come out anytime. For those of you that would like to take crow pose from here, you can go ahead and take crow pose, which is an arm balance, but if you're not, we'll stay in squat pose. If you're still here, a couple more breaths, you can stay. And any way that makes sense for you to come back down to the ground, making your way back down, and a little bit of a release here for your legs. So it could be legs extended or feet to the ground, knees bent, and release your knees side to side. All right. So we're going to come into a seated pose before lying down. So I'm going to give a couple options for this because this one may pose to be challenging for many. So I'll show you what it looks like first. So I'm taking my right leg, so you can't really see because of the lens, but my knee is over top of my other knee here. So my foot is coming back, not quite to my hip, but out to the side. And for some people, this may be where you stay. You might lift up and sit on the block and lean in. You might feel that a lot through the back of your leg. For some of you, I'm going to lean over and bend my bottom knee. Now, my sit bone is lifted here, which is not super ideal, but my knees are stacked. So I'm just going to adjust a little bit. Or you can, for now, take a little bit of a support and block underneath there to even out and lengthen up. So you want to try to be somewhat even through your hips here. Ideally, both hips are anchored on the ground. So if you're not coming to both knees bent, feet to the side, which I know for a lot of people would be a big challenge for you because of hips, bottom leg is extended. And from here, it's more of a folding forward, which you'll feel less in your hip and probably more through the back of your leg. Okay, a couple options here. And wherever it is that you are,
settling into your breath. For those of you in this Gomukhasana or cow face pose, with both knees bent, without lifting your sit bones, you could, some of you might be able to fold in at this moment. This is not possible for me to demonstrate, but you could fold in and settle towards your top leg. So we're going to pause here. If you want to close your eyes, come back to your intention for a moment and feel the connection to the ground, feel that anchoring and that settling, and at the same time there's this subtle length up through your spine. And wherever it is that you are, leaning back, releasing your legs. And again, a couple different releases. You may want to windshield wiper your feet, or you may want to bring your feet wide and release your knees a few times, or anything else for that matter. So the other side might feel very different. One side generally feels a little bit easier than the other. So we'll start with our other leg on top. I started with my right leg on top, so depending on which side you started on, we'll come to the other side. And you could again stay here, root into your fingertips, lean forward, or lean to the side, and then I just usually just adjust a little bit here. So sometimes it takes a little bit of an adjustment. Your feet don't have to be equally matched, but somewhere close to the side. So not way back towards your hips and not way forward. So again, you may want to support underneath your sit bones. If you're coming to both knees bent, you could fold in. If you're not, your bottom leg's extended, you will probably want to fold in to feel that through the back of your leg. And wherever it is that you are, perhaps closing your eyes and coming back to your breath. Noticing any sensation in your body. Noticing where you can settle and let go a bit more. Just a couple more breaths here. And as you're ready, we'll release and come out and shake it out a little bit. When my kids were little, I used to sit on the ground in that pose all the time when I was like hanging out or playing with them. And I should be doing a lot more of that pose. So you find a time where you can just sit on the ground instead of on the couch. That would be a great posture to start to open up our hips a bit more. Okay, so we're going to come onto our back. When you're ready, rolling back, reclining back. As you recline back, you could have your feet on the ground with your knees bent and maybe move your feet a few times side to side, or knees up to your chest and rock a little bit side to side. Just creating a bit of movement to feel and connect your lower back and your sacrum to the floor. And let's bring, actually let's keep both knees up to your chest. If they're not there, bring both knees into your chest. Let's take a happy baby. So your knees can come wider here. You can either hold behind your knees and lift your feet. You can grab a hold of your shins or your ankles or the outside edges of your feet. If you're doing that, if you're grabbing your feet, try to anchor your sacrum and your low back towards the floor, and then take your shoulders back and down. Couple deep breaths. Maybe a couple clearing breaths. And then let's release from that. And let's take a twist. So we did eagle arms earlier. I'm going to offer eagle legs. I did the other day as well. But if it's too much of a twist for you, release your legs and just stack both knees. So I'm going to move my knees to the right, but before I do that, I'm going to shift my hips over to the left side of my mat and bring them there. And then my left leg crosses over my right. And then my knees are going to come up and over to the right. So left leg over right. And for some of you, this may be too big of a twist for your lower back. So you can unravel those legs and stack one leg on top of the other. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? Wherever it is that you are, perhaps closing your eyes or softening your gaze a bit. Noticing your breath. And anything that's feeling held or clenched, see if you can unravel that or let that go a bit. And then coming back to the center as you're ready, unraveling your legs if you had them. Ravel, let's take our hips over to the right side, right leg over top of your left if you're taking that variation, and then knees over to the left. Of course, you could unravel your legs and have one knee stacked on top of the other here. Cat has decided to join us right at the very end, and he's been spooked by something, so he's acting really weird right now. That's why he's so quiet. You can't see or I can't hear him. Take a couple more breaths here to just let go a bit. Jaw, face, shoulders, hips, anything that feels like you're holding tension. And returning to the center. One more movement in the center. So knees to chest perhaps and rock a little bit here. Hug in. You can really hug in and bring your forehead up towards your knees and squeeze into a little ball. And then we're moving into Shavasana. So extending your arms and your legs. If you have a sweater or a blanket or support with a bolster, anything to get set up, take a moment to get set up. If you're not comfortable lying on your back, by all means, find somewhere else that is comfortable for yourself. Once you're settled into the place that you'd like to be for Shavasana, give yourself a couple clearing breaths. In through your nose and then out through your mouth. And setting an intention to just be, to surrender in here. Begin to deepen your breath. Your awareness back to your body with a little bit of gentle movement. You could circle your wrists, your ankles, maybe rub your hands together. Just give your body a little bit of a pat. Give yourself a full body stretch here, or bring your knees up in towards your chest and rock a little bit. And taking your time to roll to your side for a moment. Take maybe a couple breaths here before rolling up to your seat. And as you do arrive onto your seat, you could place both hands over your heart in a gesture of gratitude, or place your palms together at heart center. We'll take a couple deep breaths of gratitude here. And thank yourself for showing up today, for being here, for showing up for yourself. And I'm going to close the practice with an Om. And again, you're more than welcome to listen or join in. Start with a clearing breath again. And then inhale for Om. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste. Hope you enjoy your day. I'm just going to turn the recording off. Bye, everybody who watched online.